Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second installment of Inside the Rehearsal Zoom, a new conversation series in partnership with Black Girls Do Theater and the Signature Theater, where we just dive into the process behind production from page to stage and all the productions that have happened at the Signature Theater. Today, we are joined by Steve H. Broadnax III and Alan C. Edwards, and we're going to be diving into the Hot Wing King. I'm Renee Harrison, actor and founder of Black Girls Do Theater. A little bit about Black Girls Do Theater. We are a curation of culture and resources for the Black woman identifying theater artist. So before we begin, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce our guests. We're going to start with Alan. Alan C. Edwards is an award-winning New York City-based lighting designer. He is a recipient of the 2018 Lucille Lortel Award for Outstanding Lighting Design for his design of the world premiere production of Harry Clark at Vineyard Theater. His credits include Fires in the Mirror at Signature Theater, Native Son at the Acting Company at Duke, and Kill Move Paradise at NBT, the National Black Theater, for which he was nominated for a Drama Desk Award. Alan holds position as a lecturer in design at Yale Drama. Steve H. Broadnax III is a highly sought-after director, educator, actor, and writer. He began his career as an actor, where his passions later led him to expand into writing and directing. His work has been seen at Classical Theater of Harlem, New Horizon Theater, Signature Theater, among many others. Steve is the head of the MFA acting program at Penn State University, and it's recently been announced that he'll be joining the artistic leadership of People's Light Theater. Wonderful. So welcome.
Thank you for having us. Hey.
So let's get into it.
Let's do
Hot
it.
Wing King by Katori Hall.
Yes, yes.
So I want to begin with you, Steve. Can you give us some insight into what your process is like as a director, and what kind of space do you seek to create in the rehearsal room?
That's a great question. My process as a director, now it may differ from, each project, but the thing that remains the same, I'll speak to Hot Wing King specifically. I like to get with my playwright specifically. This was a world premiere at the Signature. So, and Katoria and I are neighbors. Like, she's from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. So at the time, I got a chance to talk with her, even visit her brother, whom the show was kind of dedicated to and was inspired by. So I actually got to go with her. Her brother actually has a barbecue restaurant. Rather than hot wings, it's barbecue. But we went to his restaurant with him and his partner. We were able to just be in Memphis with the people and talk with them. So it was with research, talk with Katori, and then I love to, collaborate with my designers, Alan and Mike Carnahan and Amelia Sosa, all of our designers that got together and have, just conversations on what the piece is about. And I consider myself a structuralist. So I really do in-depth script analysis. I believe the script is my Bible along with the playwright, and hopefully urging, I think my goal as the director is a supporter. Now, Katori would call me Abdullah, or I like to say a midwife, where my job, I believe, is to support the playwright and to deliver their baby and just continue to collaborate with the playwright and then my designers, and to be a foundation for collaboration. That's how I like to work. Not dictatorially. I'm not trying to dictate anything, but it is to be the foundation and to create a place so that everybody feels confident and safe to collaborate. That's the kind of, and joy. I believe in joy. Listen, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, period. What we do is not rocket science. So I think it should be joyful. And I think people come to work and be able to illuminate human spirit with joy. So those are the kind of spaces I like to create.
I have a quick follow-up question to that. So can you tell me, like, the first day of rehearsal, where everyone's walking into the room, what was the energy of that space like? How did you dive into the work?
It was joyful. I remember meeting the staff and the administration. It was a full room that first day. And I remember our circle up was huge. It was the circumference of the rehearsal space. And it's just everybody was greeting each other. It was joy. And here we are doing this zero comic, you know what I mean? This comedy in a way about zero comic about about love. And so I felt that the room was full of love that enjoyed the first day of rehearsal. We were all excited to be there in a Directorial Hall world premiere at the Signature. And for me, that was a dream come true. I would tell Paige and Beth and Rob, our producer, line producer, that for me, I had spent years coming to the Signature, bringing students to the Signature from Penn State. I'm coming myself, and it was a dream come true that I was actually standing in a rehearsal room getting ready to direct a Directorial Hall play. So shouts go out to everybody at the Signature. It was a joy and a dream come true to work there.
Yes, yes. Alan, share with us, what was your first time in the rehearsal room like? That same energy going in. What was it like for you?
I mean, I have to say that there are rehearsal rooms, and then there's Steve's rehearsal room. There is a lot of energy, and there is a lot of excitement. And I mean, it's great. That's for a lighting designer. I like, they see me at the beginning, which is that first day, and then you don't see me again until the end, which is the rehearsal run through, which is often 3 or 4 weeks later. So that's my introduction to everything we're about to do and the team. So it was really great, and I'm in a lot of first rehearsal rooms, and his rooms are a lot of fun.
So Alan, can you take us into your design process coming into Hot Wing King? What elements of the work do you consider when presenting your design ideas?
This is an interesting one to talk about, because I remember when we got started. For those who don't know the show, it takes place in a house, and there are a lot of rooms in that house. And when actually at that first rehearsal, or was it was an early read? Was it in December of last year?
Yep, correct. Yes.
And the set designer and I think we were both hearing the play for the first time, and we were both like, and they do what on the stairs? And they do what in which room? And who can see who? And so both of us were like, okay, this is gonna be something. And it's realism. And it made complete sense, but also we were like, this is not a film. We are going to have to put this on stage live. Yeah. Knowing that the thing would be edited so that the spaces would fit, and yet it still had to capture naturalism. That was my goal. Like, when I read the play, saw the rehearsal, it's nothing more than people living in a house, and the relationships that go on, how they relate to each other, and what they're doing, and in the house and out of the house, and that's it. It's pretty much real life. And so I needed to capture that. That's all. To consider when presenting. I might say something like what I just said. I might also say something like, this light needs to be as hot as some hot wings, or something. It's a feeling. Because it's natural, and saying natural does not sound exciting to a room full of people. I mean, it's that right. It does not right. To try it, even though I know that's what it is. But I feel like my communication of it is how drawn in you should be, regardless of what it should be indicative of the intention that is behind what I am doing, if that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. For the both of you, how did the opportunity for Hot Wing King come about, and what attracted you to the project, to this production?
Listen, I love Alan. I've worked with Alan numerous times, and I invite him to do every project that I'm on. So Alan is always like top of my list, the number one person I always call. I love working with him and collaborating with him. We kind of have a shorthand. We've worked together for years, Alan. It's been quite a while.
It has been a while.
I've lost count of the productions we've done together. It's been amazing to work with Alan. So I always count on call Alan on time. When he's busy, award winning, I can't get him. But most times, I always at least give him the offer. What was the second question? How did it come about? I directed Mountaintop. Oh, we did that together.
I did not do your Mountaintop. I've done it twice other times, but neither of them was yours.
Well, I directed Mountaintop at People's Light, and that was the first time I had worked on a Directorial play, and the first time I had met her. This was post-Obama that they were doing the play. And she was coming and she was going to rewrite the end, that speech or that poem when he goes to the mountaintop and sees the future, because Obama had been president at that time and she wanted just to tweak it a little bit. So she came into rehearsal and I met her there and we just hit it off. And one morning we went to McDonald's to get a McMuffin, bacon, cheese, McMuffin sandwich from McDonald's. And we were sitting there and eating pancakes and this McMuffin. And she was telling me a story about her brother. And in Memphis, Tennessee, this was a same gender loving man whom had to navigate, and he was navigating his relationship, his nephew, taking care of his nephew. And she was telling me this story. And I was like, Katori, you know that's your next play, right? And typical Katori Hall fashion, for real? You think? And I was like, yes, that's your next play. You should write that. And she said, okay, I'm going to send you a couple of scenes maybe when I start working on it. Now, so for the next maybe 3 years, I would just keep emailing her and go, hey, Katori, what about that play? It's always set on my heart. What about that play? Long story short, one day she called and said, hey, guess what, Steve? It's called Hot Wing King. You down? I was like, absolutely. And so it was, again, I was ecstatic to work on this play with her. The genesis of Hot Wing King happened at McDonald's. And now
McDonald's over a McMuffin. What you said?
Yeah,
bacon
and some pancake, yes, and apple juice, yes.
I know that.
Alan, for you, what attracted you to Hot Wing King?
I mean, there are kitchen sink dramas, and then there are things that come off the page further. And this was new, contemporary. It wasn't anything other than people living and people who look like me living. And so I thought it was interesting. And also Steve asked, so.
It was going to be a great time.
I mean, and it's interesting that it's hard to say, because a lot of things come in, and I ask for scripts to read them and say, oh, is that interesting? Is that interesting? And this was just, what was so interesting about it was that it's just people living. That's it. Like, nobody gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, to watch something on stage, it's just people living.
Yeah.
And that oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that's definitely a conversation that I've seen and I've been a part of with my friends in the theater community, specifically when it comes to works that are created by Black artists. And how oftentimes the work that we see is so deeply rooted in something traumatic or some sort of oppression, when yes, those things do exist and that reality exists, but so does Black joy.
Mm-hmm.
And so does Black life as is in all of its beauty. And so I aligned very closely with what you have said about it being a play about people just living.
Yep. And I want to echo, and it was Black love
Yeah.
and Black joy, which like you said, it's nothing wrong. There is trauma. There is, I mean, we do go through our own set of obstacles, but the spectrum is often missing, right? We don't get a chance to see and reflect to ourselves Black love and Black joy. Because to me, that was the controlling idea around this play, that love wins every time. It will always win. In a relationship, it was the new American family. These are same gender loving Black men going beyond the archetypes and stereotypes and limitations that we often see in the media, that these men were loving of each other. They were the new family. So it was great I agree with that, to widen the spectrum, to contribute to the spectrum of Black love and joy.
Yes. Steve, there's this dance that happens throughout the production. In language, in music. I was personally one of the few who began singing alongside Never Too Much when it came on. It brought me so much joy to watch these actors these Black men on stage singing that song. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pull first the basketball scene. But I do want you to consider, like, how do you approach choreographing these scenes that involve so much movement? But we're going to go with the video pull first so that everyone can see what we're talking about.
Spicy Cajun Alfredo with bourbon and furs, bacon, chicken wings. That should be elite. How you come up with all this stuff, Uncle Cordell?
I really don't know. Sometimes I just come up with the base recipe and my fingers try it out and I follow. Other times I forget to write down what my fingers make up. And next day I'm lost. 9 times out of 10, fingers remember.
Man, remember how to dunk?
Man, now you know that's all I did at Georgetown.
Georgetown. Ain't no Duke, though.
Oh, you're kidding me now.
It ain't. Georgetown ain't won since, like,
almost. Man, you know no Blue Devil can rock with no Hoya.
Ooh, really? Is that a challenge?
Nah, what you throwing up?
You know, I'm just getting warmed up. Look at that bulldog coming out.
Why did you get you some ace, man? It just looks like I just done broke them ankles, huh?
I ain't played you in a minute. I got to adjust.
Just in, young. Okay, so somebody want to show up and show out.
I'm gonna take it easy on you, old man. I don't want you to tear that ACL again.
You learn how to talk some shit. All right, come on then. Come on. All right. That's all you got? Come with it. Whoa. Woo. Look like you need to be the one worried about your knees since you the one on the ground scraping them.
Yes, the infamous basketball playing in 1 foot of space.
We do have the clip, but we don't have to show it right now. There's obviously the clip where that one night where the ball went through.
Through the house. I was, and the audience loved it. I mean, we would work on it. I was like, because it was such a small space, you know. We were like, all right, and we were. I think that the guys only did it like 2 times out of the entire run that actually went out. So they were really good in controlling the movement in a small space. Yeah. Yeah, that was the challenge, but I was proud of those men. And I'm gonna give shout out to Eric B. Robinson Jr., who played the father in the show. He's a big athlete and basketball player, and he worked with me and choreographed that basketball stuff because he was a real player. So I was like, knock it out, let's, work. And I just had to go, now move it a little bit to the left, or no, stay up stage when you speak that. But the actual, like the ball play was Eric B. Robinson, and all the shots, the guys, all three of them actually play basketball. I know Katori and I, when we were casting and we asked that, and we looked up, all three of those guys really play ball. And so it was just molding what the guys brought to the table. That's all. Like, shouts out to those gentlemen because they did an excellent job.
Yeah, when the lights came up and there was a mini basketball court on scene on the stage, I was like, okay, let's get into it.
And they played. Yeah.
And they played.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did. They really, really did.
Yeah.
Alan, what are the most important things to consider when creating a light design for moving bodies on stage?
For moving bodies. I mean, it's like, so in this play, it's realism, it's realistic, and the volume of space needs to be full of light. So there's two things happening. Like in real life, in that living room, there were two practicals in that living room, and I faked the idea that there was a ceiling light, but in real life it wouldn't look that pretty. But what's important is that it feels like a volume of space, because in real life, people are a lot close together. So these moving bodies in a real space would cast all kinds of weird shadows on each other. But in this particular instance, that's not something we perceive in real life as happening. So that can't happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's like two things happening at the same time.
Okay. Can you share what practicals are for those who do not know, including myself?
So a practical, as you see over my shoulder, is a lighting fixture. It's a fixture. It's actually not even always a lighting fixture. It's a thing on stage that does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it doesn't do more. So like a lamp on stage is not enough. A regular household lamp is not enough to light a person on stage. So we call that a practical, and then I have to fake it with other theater lights that you can sometimes see or can't see. And what the effect of the light from that practical would be doing. So it's interesting looking at the basketball scene, because where it took place in the square footage on stage, I actually didn't have many shots to get in there. And so I'm trying to capture exterior, night. There is a practical, but it's around the corner on the wall, so that's not going to light a face. In theory, this is in a nook on the side of the house, so there's actually two walls. I mean, it was just like thing on top of thing on top of thing. And also, we have to be able to see their faces because they're saying things that are important. And so there were some ways that I cheated in there. The majority of the audience couldn't see the stage left wall. And even on video, it's not exposed as far as it was in the theater. That wall was catching a lot of light because it was all coming from low on the opposite side and actually shooting through the living room. So had someone crossed through the living room during any of those exterior scenes, they would have caught the light that is actually lighting the driveway outside. It's an interesting balance, a little dance there.
Wow. Okay, so choreography, excuse me, in the lighting as well. Wow. What do you wish you knew at the start of your career that you would now impart to emerging professionals?
I believe in craft. There are many ways to gain craft. Let it be at a university. Let it be, I'm going to give, honor to Ruben Santiago Hudson, who is a mentor of mine. Neil Pepe at the Atlantic. You know, people have given me Ty Jones at the Classical Theater of Harlem, National Black Theater. I mean, these are people who've given me opportunity to hone craft. And I went to school for it as well, you know. But there are many ways to learn craft. To me, craft is a foundation for my confidence, because, you know, going in with tools, I can be confident. And so I say, you have to be confident in yourself, but gain the tools and the craft and the technique of what we do. Then when you add your humanity and your lived experience and your uniqueness, that's what makes it great, right? So, I mean, you are enough. I would tell a younger self of mine or anybody into this experience, your unique voice, there's room for all of us. All of us. That's the myth that only one or two can survive and that we don't support one another. Guess what? That's a lie. There's room for all of us. And our voices and our unique stories matter.
Yes, that's a word. That is a word.
So all of that, and I get the benefit. Sustainability. Sustainability. It's not going to happen immediately. And just knowing that that's not going to happen that really would have helped.
Amen, Alan. Amen.
There's a level of pressure in wondering why it didn't happen today. And it's just not. There's a whole lot of stuff to learn along the way, and there's stuff to learn that you don't even know that you need to learn. And some of those things, some of those experiences you go through, and you don't even realize that you learned anything from that until well after. Learning how to learn. Learning how to learn. It's like there's a lot of stuff that we are not, and I have a different thought about this, but stuff that we are not taught, possibly on purpose, that you have to figure out.
Yes. And that, I guess I want to add that failure is a part of it too. We get so, and I'm going to just speak as Black people, you know, there are very few roles and when you, opportunities, and when you get in, you know, I felt like I got to be perfect and I can't make mistakes, but the learning comes in the figuring out. The learning comes in making the mistakes. Hopefully, you know, you don't make them on in the New York Times at the Signature, but, but along the way, knowing that I wish that's what I would have told myself. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to fall, because that's where the lessons come. You know what I mean? And you just keep building and keep building. I want to honor to Susan Schulman, who is also has mentored me, and she taught me that. She was like, "Baby, I've gotten some bad reviews. But she's a beast." You know what I mean? As a director. And I think about Ruben, beast, but they had to practice and how to learn, but you will make mistakes, and that's okay. And it's a journey, not a destination. It's a journey. If you just remember that, you know what I mean? You're gonna always, hopefully, continue to do this. And it takes time. It's a journey.
And I mean, with that, it's like then you realize that the putting together of one of these massive, beautiful products, it only comes, you're still learning on that. There is no manufacturing. There is no figuring out the puzzle and just putting that puzzle together every time. It doesn't, it will never work that way.
No.
Every puzzle is different, and you're constantly in the position of learning.
Yep. Yes, sir.
That's actually the product.
Yes, the learning. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Alan, so much. For everyone who's here with us, our audience, thank you so much. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for engaging in this conversation with Black Girls Who Theater and the Signature Theater inside the rehearsal Zoom. So have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.